Joining me now to discuss the big, beautiful bill is the representative of Indiana's 3rd Congressional District, Marlin Stutzman. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Andrew, great to be with you.
So according to Minority Leader Jeffries, tens of thousands of people are going to die every year because of the one big, beautiful bill. Apparently, no one ever died when a Democrat was president.
This is the typical fear tactics that Democrats use. I remember back during the whole Obamacare debate that if we didn't pass Obamacare, millions of people were going to be without insurance, and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die because they don't have insurance. I'll tell you what, they're just out of touch with reality. And the fact that, we were promised that Obamacare was going to fix all of our problems. Well, then why are so many people on Medicaid today? Because Obamacare is not, it's a failure. And so what the real problem is our healthcare industry needs an overhaul, pushing it back towards free market principles rather than government. So this is typical Democrats trying to scare the American people. This bill is going to do a lot of good for the American people if it gets across the finish line.
Well, look, there are things in it I don't like, and I'm saying this to every Republican that'll hear me. I think Republicans will regret the $1,000 baby bond or baby bonus thing. I worry about the future with the President Buttigieg and his Speaker Jeffries, and I worry about equity being put into this. And if we don't like the likes of BlackRock, it seems like a giveaway to them. But if we don't get this through, what is it? The estimate is 68% tax increase on average American families. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Andrew. I mean, the fact that the debt ceiling is going up even more after the House version, raised it, but the Senate version raised it even more. But I agree. The tax cuts, if they are not held in place and extended and made permanent, on average, the American family would see $3,200 tax increase. Here's the problem. We're going to have a debt crisis at one of these points, and the bond markets are going to be the indicator on that happening. When you have big voices like Elon Musk, you have Jamie Dimon, you have Ray Dalio, all these guys, even off of Wall Street now, are saying if Washington doesn't get its act together and start reducing debt and deficits, there's going to be a problem. We better be listening. And that's the issue that I have, is that we continue to act like that's not coming at us. But, we've got to grow the economy. That's the other big part of it. And that's what this bill really does focus on, is tax policy. I don't think that we should be raising taxes on the American taxpayer or the American economy. So the bill is going to, keep taxes low. It's also going to fund the border. It's going to fund our military to make sure that our country's safe. Golden Dome funding is in it. And it also has the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. And so that's leaving money in Americans' pockets rather than putting it in the coffers of Washington that can't handle it responsibly.
I don't know why we bother. I don't pay attention to scoring a decade out, because for that to come true, nothing would have to change. Everything would have to stay static. That's not reality when you're talking about a decade. I mean, think about it. If you were scoring a bill from 90 to 2000, well, the internet came in and changed everything. So you can't really do that. But a lot of members I've talked to, and I'm going to put this to you, have said this is just a first year measure, that they want to come back and make more cuts. They do want more rescissions, that some of the things that they might not like about this bill, they want to fix on the back end. This is what it means to be taking over from Joe Biden and the Democrats. Do you see it that way?
I do. In fact, that's some of the conversations I've had with the White House, and letting them know that this debt ceiling increase really bothers me. I mean, we're just putting this on the credit card on the backs of our kids and grandkids. And it's the biggest threat to the United States. China's not the biggest threat. Russia's not the biggest threat. We're our own biggest threat because of our fiscal mismanagement. And so I believe that, we got to grow the economy. We got to get back to that 3% number. I think Trump's policies on trade are going to bring more jobs back to the United States, especially to the Midwest, where I'm from, where we're going to rebuild the Rust Belt and manufacturing. Agriculture continues to grow. There's greater demand. So I think that's where we're going to get that growth. But boy, I tell you what, the Department of Justice just announced yesterday a $14 billion scam related to Medicare and Medicaid. When Democrats say that there's no waste, fraud, and abuse, they're just dead wrong. It's all over the place, and too many people have found their hands into the cookie jar, and that's got to stop.
I always like to say that no one snowflake is responsible for the avalanche, right? So whenever Doge came up with a number, or Republicans come up with a number, or one of the cabinet members says, hey, look, we found this crazy contract, we can't even find out where the money went, and Democrats say, well, that's just 2% of the budget or 1% of the budget. Well, it starts to add up to real money, right? When you start putting together all of these fraudulent contracts, all of this waste, fraud, and abuse, that's real money.
Absolutely. And you know what the Doge team and Elon started the last number I heard was around $160 billion. That's a lot of money. And I think there's still more, and they're still working at it. And as you mentioned earlier about the scoring, you're exactly right. These 10-year windows, how many times are these 10-year window projections actually even accurate? I mean, I've come from the business world, and banks want a 3-year window, 5-year at the most. I mean, it's hard to project even on a 3-year window, but you're at least a little more accurate rather than guessing out what it's going to be in 10 years. So that's the other problem too. CBO scores this on a static rather than a dynamic model. And I do think that we're going to see economic growth because we're going to know that our tax rates are going to stay the same. And we're also going to see a better regulatory environment, that Trump is putting an end to this overarching, egregious Washington federal government that just continues to regulate the tar out of businesses.
I'm going to run out of time here, but it seems like a lot of what the president is doing is also taking from Democrats things that may be popular that they claimed as their own and moving into the Republican category, because they are leaving a huge vacuum with no leader and no message. I'll give you the last 20 seconds.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I mean, especially one related to healthcare, when he put a cap on pharmaceuticals. I mean, that's not a free market principle that I believe in, but I think that the healthcare industry has shown that they don't know how to control costs. And I think that's potentially where we may be going in healthcare, that we're going to start price capping.
All right, I got to leave it there. Congressman Stutzman, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Great to be with you, Andrew.